Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
We'll have a report on the new beef advertising campaign, plus tips on baling corn stalks and how you can protect your herd from respiratory disease.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. Leading our news this week, the issue of mandatory country of origin labeling, or COOL, remains unresolved and has the potential to negatively impact U.S. beef trade. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association has been urging changes to the COOL program since the World Trade Organization ruled that, as implemented, COOL is an unfair trade practice that has damaged Mexico and Canada. For the latest on COOL, we spoke with NCBA's Colin Woodall and also with the Canadian ambassador to the U.S. We asked them what the impact has been for livestock producers in the U.S. and in Canada.
Well, it's hurt them, and it's hurt us. It means that we've had less animals from Canada go to U.S. processing plants, more requirements requiring more production lines mean less animals, and that in turn has hurt Canadian producers. So we feel we should be able to negotiate a common sense solution with I've always felt cattle producers on one side of the border can work with cattle producers on the other. We've had to deal with tough situations in the past, whether it's BSE on either side of our border. We've worked it through. We want to keep our system safe and our food integrity for the world consumer in check, and we've done that, and we want to continue to advance that. We think we should be trading partners around the world for our products rather than having a bit of a dispute, as they say in diplomatic terms.
One of the reasons why we need to resolve this dispute is because of the importance of Canada as being one of our top 5 markets for the export of U.S. beef. They have been a long-time customer and ally of the United States, and this particular issue, country of origin labeling, has really jeopardized that relationship. So there are some long-standing consequences that are going to result if we cannot get country of origin labeling squared away. When you look at 2012, the export of U.S. product into Canada was worth a little over $1 billion. That has a huge impact on the bottom line of our industry. So again, we just have to get this taken care of so we do not have the financial hit that will come from any sort of retaliatory action by Canada.
To stay current on beef trade and other key issues that NCBA is working on every day in Washington, why not become an NCBA member? To find out more, call 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit the website beefusa.org. You may have been seeing and hearing new Beef It's What's for Dinner advertising this summer and fall. The Beef Checkoff has updated the popular campaign and rolled out new print and radio ads. We learn more about the strategy behind the beef campaign and one of the beef producer leaders involved as Brian Baxter reports from Idaho.
A good day for Kevin Jones is spent caring for the cattle in his family's feedlot in southern Idaho and then grilling some steaks for his family. Kevin grew up here, and cattle feeding is what he was born to do.
I'm third generation. I can remember coming out here lots of times with my grandfather and making the rounds and checking the cattle, and so it's kind of what I was raised into. It's what I wanted to do.
Kevin not only feeds cattle, he serves as a volunteer leader for the Beef Checkoff program, helping to update the Beef It's What's for Dinner advertising campaign to target millennial and Gen X consumers ages 25 to 44.
What the research has shown that they really are focused on the health aspect. And so we've got a good story to tell there, really good story, but they don't know it. So we've got to get that out in front of them and make sure that they know that nutrient-dense beef story.
To tell that story, the Beef Ad campaign will feature both new radio and new print ads with links to recipes, nutrition information, and the question, "What's your dinner made of?" alongside eye-catching beef photography.
So it's going to be really focused on the sizzle, on our beef cuts, making them look really good. And then we'll go into talking about the 10 essential nutrients. So the catch will be is that, you know, they'll see this perfect steak and want that for dinner, and then they'll be able to check out and see how nutritious our beef items are and entice them to buy.
The print ads will be delivered not only in traditional magazines, but also on iPads and other mobile devices that can link consumers directly to beef websites, information, and recipes, something Kevin Jones believes will help put beef on more grills and dinner tables. In Idaho, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
One of the resources cattlemen value and use throughout the year is the NCBA Red Book. And here to tell us more about this year's edition is Grace Webb with NCBA. Grace, the Red Book is a popular tool for a lot of cattlemen. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the Little Red Book is a pocket-sized record-keeping system that producers can use to keep better records by tracking the daily production activities while they're in the field.
And tell us about some of the specific features in the Red Book.
It provides over 100 pages to record calf information, herd health, pasture usage, AI breeding, cattle movement worksheets, cattle sales, and death loss, just to name a few.
Yeah. And you talk to a lot of producers on the phone. Tell us what producers say about it, and maybe highlight a few of the changes you've made because of producer feedback.
Producers love this book because it's very convenient. They can keep it in a shirt pocket. They can keep it in their truck glove box. They love the fact that we added back the address and phone number feature, surprising, and they love the fact that we have beef quality assurance guidelines as well.
And you were telling me before, you can actually get these customized to your ranch if you'd like.
Yes, in quantities of 100 books or more at a reduced rate, and they can call me directly to get the information.
Thank you, Grace. To find out more about the Red Book and how you can get your copy, call 1-800-525-3085 or visit the website beefusa.org. Still ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
We've just been entrusted to be stewards of the cattle and the land, and we take that very, very seriously. And we feel very blessed to get to do it every day.
We'll visit Yon Family Farms in South Carolina to see how they win the battle against respiratory disease. Plus, we'll head to Iowa for expert advice on baling corn stalks. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're watching NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman on RFD TV.
This business can take time away and become more of your family than your actual family. My days were tough. I had a lot of doctoring, a lot of pulling. Now our days on the feed yard are happy days. It's more about looking at the cattle and enjoying what we're producing versus the alternative, which is pull and treat and bang our head against the wall. We have never wavered from Draxon. We've seen the benefits just keep getting better and better.
It's time to gear up for fall with big savings on John Deere hay equipment. Get 0% financing on mower conditioners, balers, and select hay tools. And for a limited time, get up to $3,600 off a new 8 or 9 series round baler. Plus, an extra $750 in-season bonus. So don't wait. Come in today before these Gear Up for Fall savings come to an end.
Welcome back. The last thing any cattle producer wants to deal with in their herd is respiratory disease. It's a significant animal health issue that costs real money, an average of $15 per calf per year. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter visited South Carolina to see how one family works to prevent respiratory disease in their calves.
We're a family-operated Angus seed stock operation. We run about 900 brood cows on 2,500 acres. We also have a herd of commercial cattle.
Our primary purpose for existence is to produce Angus bulls for the commercial cattle industry. And pretty much everything we do revolves around that and trying to create a total picture to produce bulls that'll go out and work for people, that'll be trouble-free, and go out and produce the type of cattle that the industry needs today.
Kevin and Lydia Jan run a family-owned and operated Angus seed stock outfit in Ridge Spring, South Carolina. The Jans take a lot of pride not only in raising top-quality cattle, but also in their customer service.
It's very important to us that the cattle, when they leave here, go perform and do well for their new owners. And we want to do everything in our power to make those cattle perform well.
With their livelihood riding on producing healthy cattle that meet their customers' high expectations, the Jans can't risk a respiratory disease setback in their herd.
I can just imagine from a cost standpoint, from a reassurance standpoint, to be able to tell our customers that everything's under control and that the health is good, and then to know that we've had a respiratory outbreak would really be a problem for me to be able to stand behind our cattle.
Cattle are how we make our living, and we need them to be healthy, and we need them to perform, and we have sales scheduled twice a year, and we need cattle to sell. A respiratory outbreak would be very detrimental.
Keeping their herd healthy and profitable means doing everything they can to prevent respiratory disease. Kevin and Lydia say a good overall herd health program is the foundation to a successful operation.
We don't have a problem, we don't want a problem, and we don't want our customers to have a problem. Our goal is to sell bulls to people that go out, work for them, that make them want to tell their neighbor, I got this bull, he's great, I hadn't had any trouble with him, I'm going back to get my next one from there.
We have a very stringent herd health program here at Jan Family Farms. We work very closely with our local veterinarian, Dr. Jeff Norden, scheduling and mapping out our herd health program throughout the year.
It takes a team approach, and you have to break it down in components and work out a good game plan in order to successfully manage it.
Every year, their game plan includes a strong vaccination program to ensure their cattle are protected from respiratory disease from the very beginning.
The vaccination program is the critical component of a herd health program. Without a good vaccination program, without a good vaccine, you're probably doomed from the start. I don't think that you can really overemphasize the importance of a good vaccination program.
A respiratory vaccine is just the basis of what we do. They work. When we wean cattle, we don't need to worry about a respiratory blow up. And when we use good products and do it in the proper manner, we haven't had problems with respiratory disease.
The basic respiratory diseases that cattle need to be vaccinated for are IBR, BVD type 1 and 2, BRSV, PI3 or parainfluenza 3, and then Mannheimia hemolytica and Pasteurella multocida.
The Jans use the Vista line of vaccines as part of their vaccination program and fortunately have never had to address any respiratory disease setback in their herd.
We want our cattle to be bulletproof when they leave here. We've used Vista, been very pleased with the results. It has worked well.
Vista is a very good choice for respiratory vaccine because it offers the most complete protection on the market today. And it's also one dose, so it's not a vaccine that has to be boosted every time. And it's the only vaccine that's on the market that is modified live for the virals and an avirulent live on the Pasteurella portion.
Vista is a good vaccine. I think you need a vaccine that's certainly efficacious. You need a vaccine that has a long duration of immunity. You need a vaccine that has a low reactivity rate. And you also need one that's cost efficient.
It could just be really devastating if you did have a respiratory outbreak. And fortunately, we have not been in that situation. And I attribute that to the fact that we've had such a good prevention program and that our vaccines have worked and been effective.
We'll have more from the Jan Family Farm in South Carolina right after this.
Respiratory disease is a significant animal health issue in the beef industry. It costs producers nearly $1 billion in lost profits each year, and it's the most prevalent disease in calves older than 30 days. So why not prevent respiratory disease before it steals from your bottom line? Vista Once protects your calves with the most complete respiratory disease coverage available, and Vision Blackleg vaccines can add 14 pounds per calf at weaning. For further information, contact your local veterinarian or animal health supplier.
You're not responsible for the weather, just the cattle. And Rangeland works as hard as you do to deliver performance, production, and profitability. Cattle need consistent nutrition. They'll get it year-round with Rangeland products from Land O'Lakes. Deliver what they need free choice in weather-resistant loose minerals and mineral and protein tubs. Get the most out of your forage. See your Land O'Lakes Co-op for products that will stand up to whatever Mother Nature throws at us. Weather's coming in. Rangeland. Consider it done.
Now let's head back to South Carolina and reporter Brian Baxter for more on preventing respiratory disease in calves.
The Yons rely on Vista and Vision not only because they effectively prevent respiratory disease, but also because they're less stressful on the cattle.
We vaccinate calves at 3 to 5 months of age, and then again 2 to 3 weeks prior to weaning to get that immune response, getting those cattle ready to be weaned, using just Vista once and Vision at weaning.
After we vaccinate calves, we don't see the calves go through what we would think of as a typical stress period. They still seem pretty much just like they did the day before you worked them after you've run them through the chute and vaccinated them, done whatever else, tattooing or whatever else you were doing to them that day.
When we look at respiratory protection, what we're actually trying to do is immunize the animal against the threats that it's got to meet. But we don't want to immunize it with a vaccine that's going to cost us so much in production. And Vista appears to be a very mild vaccine. As you heard Lydia say earlier, they've seen no stress from the vaccine.
A comprehensive vaccination program is just one component to preventing respiratory disease. A strong nutrition program, starting with calves nursing soon after birth to ensure they're getting colostrum, is critical in order for the cattle to respond effectively to the vaccines.
Colostrum quality is most important. We know that a calf just needs to get up, nurse, and hopefully he's going to have a very high quality colostrum, but we feel like nutrition and a good herd health vaccination program improves the quality of that colostrum.
When we vaccinate, we think the fact that we have taken care of them from all the other standpoints makes that whole vaccine process easier on them and the vaccine work effectively.
Despite the best vaccination and nutrition programs, calves can still pick up viruses and contract pneumonia. Dr. Newcomb says observing the animals on a regular basis is important to diagnosing and treating the disease early.
It's important because respiratory disease can travel pretty fast between the animals. So once you start seeing 1 or 2 animals, you'll start seeing the whole herd start getting an outbreak. Once an animal contracts respiratory disease, that can affect its production throughout its lifetime.
The Yons know that with any program, it takes many components working together to be successful and effective. While a strong vaccination program is important for ensuring the overall health of the herd, they say it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Isn't any one area that is going to make our herd more productive. It's the genetic component, it's the nutritional component, it's the herd health component. Parasite control is the basis for having a good herd health program, as cattle with parasites aren't going to respond to the vaccines and get the immune response that we're looking for. It's a system that it takes all of them done properly for our herd to be productive.
They all work together as pieces of the puzzle. If one component of the puzzle is missing, then we have an incomplete product to sell. So we try to fill in all the blanks and put all the pieces together that can help us create a product that's trouble-free for our customers.
If you look at nutrition, you look at parasite control, you look at stress management, those are all the foundations that you have to build a herd health program on. You want to minimize stress, you want to maximize the calf's immunity, and you want to maximize the calf's nutritional status. And when you vaccinate, you want to use the most complete vaccine out there on the market today, and that's going to be Vista.
Caring for their cattle and staying up to date on their herd health program is a way of life for Kevin and Lydia Yon, and it's a quality that many people take notice of.
Kevin and Lydia, they're go-getters. They pay attention to detail. They go the extra mile. They grasp new concepts, and they're willing to change depending upon the market conditions.
We've just been entrusted to be stewards of the cattle and the land, and we take that very seriously. And we feel very blessed to get to do it every day.
We get to see better scenery and more miracles every day than, most people get to see in a lifetime. It's just what we love doing, and I hope we get to do it for a long time to come.
Reporting from Yon Family Farms in Ridge Spring, South Carolina, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
To find out more about how you can protect your herd from BRD, visit the website mercanimalhealthusa.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi there, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rory, and welcome to our farm outside Nashville, Tennessee. When we go to work, whether it's on tour or here at home, we wear the West.
That's right. Whether it's that perfect snap shirt or that perfect pair of boots, when you wear Roper, you wear the West.
Learn more about us, Joey and Rory, and about Roper Western Wear at eroper.com.
Telling the truth and being real, and feeding my family a home-cooked meal. That's important to me. That's important to me. And planting the garden and watching it grow.
Welcome back. From the wetlands of Florida to the mountains of California, producers all across the nation have figured out how to raise their cattle in spite of challenging weather and terrain. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter spends a day in the life of one North Dakota rancher who is determined to raise quality cattle no matter what challenges he's faced with.
We had what my friends coined an old McDonald farm, so we had every species of livestock you could think of.
Doug Beekler is a third-generation rancher and has had a passion for the beef industry his entire life.
I was out helping with chores ever since I was a little kid. There's a picture of me probably when I was 3 or 4 underneath a dairy cow, helping my dad milk cows.
Today, Doug runs Beekler Simmentals and Red Angus in Linton, North Dakota, the same operation his grandfather started back in 1920.
We have mainly Simmental cows because we like the combination of disposition, mothering ability, and phenotype that we get out of the Simmentals. We started raising Simmentals when I was very young. We've had Simmental bulls as long as I can remember. And I've always been drawn to the Simmentals, and so that's what I continued on with when I graduated from college. We did add some Red Angus cows to our herd because some of our customers do like to use Red Angus on their heifers.
Not only do they have the characteristics Doug is looking for, but he also believes Simmental cattle work well in the rugged terrain where his operation is located.
Well, obviously with a more aggressive terrain, we need to have cows that are sound. So soundness is a key factor. We also need cattle that are hardy. The winters here can be pretty severe. So we need cattle that are going to perform in the winter.
Beekler Simmentals has an annual bull sale in February and a female sale in November. And the origin behind their fall sale might surprise you.
We market females to both commercial and seed stock producers with the mentality that any of the females that we sell, we would have no problem putting back into our own cow herd. And the reason we do that is because we simply produce too many females to utilize in our own herd. So we started the sale with the mindset that we could basically produce these females for other operators.
Beekler Simmental strives to raise top quality cattle to ensure each and every customer is completely satisfied. And while they're continually growing their business, they place a high emphasis on quality versus quantity.
We sell about 65 bulls, so we're probably one of the smaller sales up in this region, but we focus on quality cattle that have performance, soundness, great dispositions, and a lot of natural thickness. Right now we are at about 175 brood cows that we calve out each spring, and we've grown that pretty significantly the last few years. When I first started, I started with about 10 cows, and that was in the year 2000. So in about 13 years, we've grown the herd significantly.
No matter how well their sale days might go or how much their business grows, Doug believes customer service is the #1 key to success.
We believe in good customer service. We stand behind what we sell. We have a philosophy that if we don't want to keep it in our herd, we're not going to sell it to somebody else. Being in the cattle business, sometimes things don't work out how you want. And so we stand behind our cattle if something should happen. I've even given my own herd sires to producers before just to make sure that their cows get bred. So we like to stand behind our cattle, and we're pretty proud of what we produce.
Reporting from Beekler Simmentals in Linton, North Dakota, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
To join Doug Beekler and become a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or email us at c2c@beef.org. If you're like me, football season's always a time to enjoy family, friends, and food. Kristen Ledgerwood from the Culinary Innovations team is with us, and let's talk tailgating with beef. Kristen?
Of course. Well, I think a lot of people think of beef to take when they're tailgating, but I don't think a lot of people think of brisket as an option.
Burgers normally.
Right.
Yeah.
Burgers are a go-to, so
Sure.
why not trying something different and do a little brisket? This recipe today, we're doing a braised brisket.
Okay.
We're going to make some street tacos.
Okay.
But we're going to do everything besides building your tacos ahead of time.
Perfect.
So you can just take it with you.
Enjoy the game.
And enjoy the game.
Yeah, enjoy the friends. That's fantastic. And so
Yeah.
you've already got a brisket started here, it looks like.
I did. So I went ahead, added a little bit of olive oil into my stock pot, and I'm starting to brown the both sides of my brisket.
Okay, for somebody who likes to barbecue brisket, you're worrying me a little bit when you put the brisket in a stock pot and start browning it.
You're wondering about it, aren't you?
I am. You're going to have to sell me on this concept. I love barbecue brisket.
Well, this is a braised recipe, so we're going to add some liquid to it, and we're going to get it, cook it until it's fork tender, which it's just going to melt in your mouth.
Very good.
So it's another alternative to what you traditionally use your brisket for.
Smoking or barbecuing, yeah.
Right. So, so like I said, we've just gotten this a little bit nice and brown. We're going to brown both sides of those. Sure. And then we've got a little bit of that olive oil left in there.
Okay.
And we're going to start adding some of our aromatics to the recipe.
Give it a little extra flavor and so forth.
That's right.
What do we have in terms of aromatics?
We have some onions.
Okay, sure.
So we've got sliced some onions.
About how
in
much?
there.
Just several?
Just about a half a cup of onions.
Okay, that's good.
And some minced garlic.
Perfect.
So this is all going to mix in there, and it's going to get nice and flavorful. You're going to start to smell it. A lot of times people wonder what you're cooking, and it's those onions and garlic that really start to make the smell.
It smells, I love those two anyway.
Yeah.
I don't ever think of them with brisket, but so you're just going to kind of cook those for about how long then?
Just so they're sautéed enough to a little translucent. We're really just going to about 4 or 5 minutes or so,
all right.
just to bring out that lovely smell that you usually get with it.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to go ahead and add our brisket back in on top of our onions.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
We'll do that.
And then you've got some other things here, and I'm not sure what you've brought us here.
Well, everybody, when they go tailgating, usually has some beer around, right?
Okay, sure.
So you take one of those bottles of beer that you're going to...
that you were going to
drink, and we're going to go ahead and add it to our brisket.
Okay.
So we've just got one bottle of beer.
Just as kind of a tenderizer, or what else is it doing?
It's going to help break it down, but it's also going to be some flavor, a lot of flavor. Tomatillo salsa.
Okay.
So you can just find this in the grocery store, just a jar, and you're going to add some of that salsa in there.
Very good.
Now you can tell it's kind of quieted down a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're just going to stir that in there.
Okay. And how long are you going to cook all these things then?
This is going to go for about 2.5 to 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
But our key is looking for fork tenderness.
Okay.
So you're going to stick a fork in there, and you're looking for the brisket to actually pull away from the fork.
Very good.
And that's when you know it's at that nice tenderness
And
stage.
speaking of fork tender, did you bring a sample for us?
I did.
I thought I saw that.
So we went ahead and cooked up brisket beforehand for y'all. And so what you do after it gets to that fork tenderness stage, we're going to take the brisket out. We're going to go ahead and slice it.
Oh, yeah.
The sauce we're going to reduce down. We're going to make it a little bit thicker, and we're going to add the brisket back into it.
One more time.
So,
and what does that do?
It's going to add a little bit extra moisture, and then your flavor is going to hold into your brisket. So.
And then you're going to take that in a crock pot or something to just keep it warm. Is that right?
Whatever you usually travel to that you can keep warm at while you're tailgating, just go ahead and put it in there, and then while you're making your tacos.
Yeah, tell us about the tacos themselves.
Sure. Yeah. So you pick your favorite corn tortilla, flour tortilla, whatever you like at the store. Pick that up. We're going to add the brisket back in there, and then some of our great toppings, some salsa, cilantro, green onions, whatever you feel like.
Looks delicious, and it's especially easier. It just cuts down the stress and the hassle at the tailgating party itself. Kristen, you've taken tailgating to altogether different level this fall with beef. Thanks for bringing us this recipe.
Trying to make it easier, so thanks for having me, Kevin.
You bet. For this and other outstanding recipes, visit beefitswhatsfordinner.com, or you can go to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org.
It's the official monthly publication of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The National Cattleman is produced exclusively for NCBA members and includes coverage of the news and events affecting our industry. From Capitol Hill to the far side of cattle country, the National Cattleman provides information NCBA members need. Every issue includes market analysis, feature stories, and practical management tips. Start receiving your copy of The National Cattleman. Call 866-USA-BEEF or go online to beefusa.org and join today.
NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman is your source for industry updates that impact your operation.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is continuing its fight against the so-called death tax.
Hear from congressional members on important issues. Learn about the best practices for beef quality assurance and visit operations from around the country, all in 1 hour. NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern on RFD TV.
Welcome back. From high corn prices to limited hay, the challenges of the past few years have led many producers to consider every option to maximize feed and forage efficiency. That's resulted in more interest in the value of baling corn stalks. And for more on that, we turn to Cattleman reporter John Robinson in Iowa.
I'm Cattleman to Cattleman reporter John Robinson here in Ames, Iowa with Mark Lowry from New Holland Agriculture. Mark, tell me a little bit about why cattlemen are interested in baling corn stalks.
Sure, John. Corn stalks are really recognized as more of a valuable commodity that can be utilized for bedding and more recently even for a supplemental feed source. So we have a lot of interest in both of those purposes, and so that's caused us at New Holland to design our equipment tougher to meet those needs to be in the field baling stalks in the fall.
Mark, is the big baler capable of baling corn stalks directly from the factory?
Yes, it is. We have a variety of features to make this baler tough enough to handle a variety of crops, including corn stalks, miscanthus, a lot of biomass crops that are getting put through these balers now. So we have a number of things so that they're tough enough to handle whatever cattlemen want to throw at them.
What are the features that make this baler tough enough to bale corn stalks directly from the factory?
On this particular big baler unit, we've spent a lot of time redesigning the pickup to make it tough enough to bale alternative crops that are a little harder on the unit. So when we look at the pickup, we've made our pickup bands thicker than our previous generation. We've made our tines longer and thicker than the previous generation, and we've just increased the strength of the overall backbone and frame of the pickup. That's the first thing that's going to take the abuse as crops being fed into the baler, so we want to make sure that cattlemen are getting material material fed in reliably, so that they're more productive in the field. Another feature that really helps, particularly in corn stalks, is taking a look at a rotor cut baler for two reasons. The first reason is just the even flow that a rotor will produce in order to put that material into the baler. And the second part is to take a look at, if we're starting to think about using this as a feed supplement, to look at cutting those bales in order to make them easier to grind, or whatever the cattleman's system is in order to use the bales. It might be a little easier to get that material chopped finer so that and the bales still hold together well for multiple moves, so that you can use them in the best possible and most efficient way.
When you're thinking about a round baler versus a big square baler, what are some of the advantages of a big square baler compared to a round baler?
Well, when you're looking at the two, and we do offer a specialty crop round baler that's also capable of baling stalks, it really depends on the individual operation. Cattleman needs to look at their total overall acreage. If they're looking at baling stalks to see what their goal in terms of throughput is, you're always going to be able to bale a little faster and get more tons per hour with the big baler. So that's one of the things to take a look at and see your number of human resources and how many people you can have in the baler, and just how quickly you need to have those stalks off of there. But you will be able to achieve a higher level of throughput with a large square baler.
Thanks, Mark. Joining me now is Scott Wangsgard with New Holland Agriculture. Scott, how do you adjust the pickup to help feed corn stalks into the baler?
Well, when you're adjusting the pickup for corn stalks, you need to keep in mind, because the corn is planted in rows, the pickup gauge wheels aren't going to work very well, because they'll change from one row to the next, depending upon whether they fall in a valley or on a hump. So you need to adjust the stop on the side of the pickup, so the pickup teeth are always the same distance away from the ground, so you're not getting too much dirt, but you're still picking up the corn stalks that you want.
Scott, what are some of the service items I should pay attention for before taking my baler into the field?
When you're servicing for corn stalks especially, there's a lot of dirt involved, so you need to check your chains and make sure that the chains keep tight and that they keep clean. We've got an automatic oiler on there, and you're going to want to turn that to high for doing corn stalks, so you put as much oil as possible on that, so don't forget to fill it. Also with corn stalks, there can be buildup in the chamber, so you need to make sure every couple of days or whatever, when you're baling, especially the wetter corn stalks, clean out the baler and make sure that there's no buildup inside the chamber.
Talk to me a little bit about nodder issues when you're dealing with corn stalks. How do I avoid those, and how big a problem are they?
Well, we are going to see some nodder issues in corn stalks. That's just the nature of it. Because of the stocky material, you're going to have some. So we offer two kits to help prevent that. One is a needle slot baffle plate, makes the needle slot smaller, so there's less room for a stalk to stick up into that nodder as it makes it cycle. The other thing on that is the needle cleaning kit, and that goes inside the plunger, so as the needle goes through the plunger, it knocks off any trash that the needle may be bringing up into the nodder as well. The other thing is just making sure that those nodders are clean all the time. You want to clean those off and blow them off as much as possible.
Tell me a little bit about bale density. How important is it when you're baling corn stalks, and how do I adjust it?
Well, bale density is important whether it's hay or corn, but especially with corn, we don't have to worry about molding most of the time, depending if you do it dry. So you can get them as tight as possible, and then you don't have to worry, and it's just less bales to handle. So bale density is crucial, and then to adjust it, you just go into the sub-screen of the first main screen, and you can up your density. But the other key there is twine. If you don't have good high quality twine, then you're not going to be able to make as dense a bale as we can push with the baler. So make sure you get that good New Holland twine.
Thanks, Scott. I'll be back with more from Ames, Iowa right after this.
New Holland equipment is built smart for the way you farm, and the New Holland Big Baler is smart for the way you make big square bales. The new Big Baler Series large square balers from New Holland use the latest technologies to deliver dense, uniform bales in every crop at high speed. Wide maxi sweep pickups grab hay or straw in the toughest windrows, feeding it into the bale chamber, where the New Holland Density Management System makes each bale to your exact specifications. Operators can also choose from a variety of crop cutter storage systems to cut crop just the way you need it to maximize feed utilization and mixing times. And if you're looking for precision, ask your New Holland dealer about options to monitor and control weight, moisture, and RFID bale identification. Any way you look at it, the New Holland Big Baler is smarter and faster to get the job done right the first time. Visit your New Holland dealer to learn more about the complete lineup of New Holland equipment, in addition to all of the benefits available to cattle producers.
Welcome back. I'm John Robinson. I'm here in Ames, Iowa for Cattleman to Cattleman, and joining me now is Steve Peterson from Monsanto. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
Steve, tell me a little bit about why corn fodder is becoming an important source of cattle feed here in Iowa.
Well, Monsanto looks at this from the perspective of the corn grower, and adding value to that corn acre is extremely important to us. And as yields increase, we're seeing more and more residue on the soil, and it's important for growers to remove some of that residue to continue, especially in continuous corn, to increase yields.
Steve, tell me a little bit about the research that Monsanto has done to validate corn stover as a feed resource.
Well, Monsanto and our partners have, the last 6 years, been doing extensive research into how much stover can we remove from the ground, what are its impacts to corn yields, and really impacts to the soil, because above all, we need to protect the soil in this endeavor.
Steve, tell me a little bit about the results that cattle feeders are seeing when using corn stalks as a feed resource.
Well, we've done extensive testing with some of our partners, and we've seen a lot of impressive gains replacing corn and hay in the rations, especially when we mix the corn stover with the distiller's grains from the ethanol industry. It becomes a very low-cost ration. It's good for corn growers because as you remove the stover from the ground, you increase yields on continuous corn. And the cattle feeders have seen anywhere from inclusion rates from 20% up to over 50% in cow-calf rations.
What are the processes used to treat corn fodder, and what is the equipment that's needed for the process?
A lot of the present equipment that growers or feeders have today can be utilized to harvest the corn stover. We're looking at ways to basically bale it, and also we've used some chopping methods to harvest it, very similar to what they utilize in silage today. And the end result, by adding the calcium hydroxide is what we're presently using, we add that at about a 7% solution to the process, and it really starts breaking down the material. And it allows the cattle feeder to up his inclusion rates of corn stover and have a product that's much more digestible in the end. Normally the digestibility of the product will go up 50% over untreated corn stover.
I'm here now with Bill Kauser, owner of Kauser Cattle Company in Nevada, Iowa. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Bill, tell me a little bit about your operation.
We live here in Nevada, Iowa, which is the center of Iowa. We have a cattle feeding operation here. We're permitted for 5,200 head of one-time capacity, and we raise seed. We're in seed production and also have commercial corn and commercial soybeans.
Tell me a little bit about why you looked at corn stalks as a feed source.
Well, over the past few years, we've utilized the corn stalks and bean stubble for many different purposes. But over the last few years, when we look at the drought conditions that have hit us, and then the economic, agronomic value that it brings to our land, it's just made us want to get further and further into the process of how can we utilize that and generate more economic value off each acre.
Bill, what have been some of the major benefits of feeding corn stover to your cattle?
Well, corn stover has actually given us another income stream, you might say, because now we can take the corn, we can harvest it and put it in the bin. We can collect the mog, in other words, the material that comes through the combine, which is the corn cob and the corn shuck and some of the leaf, put it in a bale so it doesn't touch the ground and we don't have the ash, and that allows us a feed stuff, as we did years ago when we used to feed ear corn. And then we go back and we gather up the corn stalk, and we can utilize that for bedding for our deep bedded barns, for a confinement system, or we can take it to the new cellulosic ethanol plant and make ethanol out of it, or we can go through a process of calcium oxide or calcium of some kind and use it for a feedstuff and enhance it and make it become more digestible.
Bill, tell me a little bit about the process of treating and processing the corn stalks before you feed them.
Well, what this does, it really has allowed me not to commit myself to a certain product. In other words, if I put up corn silage, I have to feed corn silage. And by doing it this way with the 3 different streams that come through there, it allows me to be able to, if I need that for feed, we have a process that we're now developing and designing that we can attach it to our custom grinder, and we can rehydrate that bales and go through the process, apply the material, and let it, you might say, ferment for 4 or 5 days, and then feed it. And we can rotate this at a weekly pattern or 2 weekly pattern, depending on what our situation is. So what it's allowed us to do is to take a less valuable feed and turn it into a very digestible product for the animal.
Have you noticed a yield difference in your corn acres since you've started removing the stover from the field?
Well, when I put my farmer cap on, that's probably one of the greatest things that's happening on the agronomic side. One of the biggest challenges we have today as a farmer is residue management. Now, by having options of being able to take the corn stover off and go through the process and then take manure back in its traditional natural form, we're actually building these soils, and we're seeing yields increase, because what we're seeing is that now that the fertilities or the nitrogen isn't going to the stalk to break down the residue, it's going directly to plant health. So we're seeing increase in yields because our land actually warms up sooner, and our soils respond much better to that seed without all that residue on top.
Bill, that's great information. Thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for coming out.
Reporting from Nevada, Iowa, this is John Robinson for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
For more information about New Holland Agriculture's full lineup of equipment, visit agriculture.newholland.com. We'll have more after this.
I am an NCBA member.
I am an NCBA member.
I'm an NCBA member because NCBA is our voice in Washington.
I'm an NCBA member.
I am an NCBA member because I feel it's important that we have an association such as this in Washington, D.C. to support our cattlemen throughout the country.
I am an NCBA member. Join me today.
To stay up to date on beef industry news and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, check out beefusa.org. You'll find news on both the Federation of State Beef Councils and the work of NCBA on Capitol Hill. Plus, link to NCBA programs like the blog, Beltway Beef, updates on the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and the latest from NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Connect today at beefusa.org.
Glenn's worked his ranch since he was a boy. A lifetime invested raising cattle and crops and caring for the land and producing a product his urban neighbors can enjoy and trust. Well, why does he go that extra mile? So someday someone he loves can carry it on. IMI Global Third-Party Verification can be your partner in helping you to market wisely and responsibly in this new world where people care where their food comes from. Real people.
Let's face it, you don't think a lot about your trailer hitch. You use it and forget it. We understand. But at B&W, we think about it. Short nights, long hauls, never-ending chores. The unthinkable. We think about it all, so you don't have to. B&W. Trusted.
You can tell a lot about a man by the hat he wears. I don't know you, but I know that hat. I wore a hat just like it. Back in the days when men were men. You bet the pot and played to win, and if you lost, you tried again. Bet your life I know that hat. Cowboy gave that hat to me. Back then it was nearly new. Wear it well, he said to me. You're starting out the world to see, and I hope you find your destiny. And so I took that cowboy's hat, and I put that good old hat to work. When work was all I knew. Wrench in hand and on my back, fence and pliers, the old lion shack, horseshoes, ropes, the cattle tracks, that hat could hold its own. But then I put my tools away and hung up that old hat. I climbed aboard the business train, faced each mountain as it came, made my mark and earned a name, and only wore the hat to cool ambition. 'Cause I was on the inside rail, building cornerstones. I learned to find my way around, to keep my feet on solid ground, not judge a man when he was down. And the hat just took it all in stride and waited. It watched to see how I would play the cards that I'd been dealt. Would I stay strong through boom or bust? Would my soul grow or gather dust? Was I a man someone could trust? And could I face the man in the mirror? Well, nowadays I live my life content, but always thinking. I'm keeping busy just the same, trusting others with the reins, share the praise and take the blame. That's just the way life goes when your hand's on the wheel. Yep, I don't know you, but I know that hat. Mine's hanging on the wall. It just reminds me what it takes to make life good. You get some breaks and you give some back for old mistakes. And if you learned life's lessons well, they all can tell. 'Cause if you did, that hat, that good old hat, still fits your big old head. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. Now, if you've never been to the big cattle industry convention and NCBA trade show, why not put February 2014 on your calendar? We asked NCBA President Scott George, a Wyoming cattleman, what he likes about the NCBA trade show.
The thing I enjoy about the NCBA trade show is the variety of products that are exhibited there. You're able to go in and literally talk to people that are bringing the latest and greatest innovations and technologies and ideas and thoughts right there in one place. It is a fabulous opportunity not only to educate yourself, but also to make connections and develop relationships where you can actually benefit your operations.
Don't miss the 2014 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. You can register now by visiting beefusa.org. And don't forget, you can also sing your way to Tennessee. If you're 18 or under and related to an NCBA, ANCW, or CBB member, you can compete in the first ever NCBA National Anthem Singing Contest and possibly win a trip to the convention in Nashville. The deadline for entries in the singing contest is November 1st. Find out more at beefusa.org. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.